Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me correctly? Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So I want to introduce myself. I'm Jonathan Velasquez. I'm part of Ward 5. I lived there for my entire life. Essentially, I come here as a senior in high school, as part of I serve as president and part of the Youth Advisory Council. Two of my members are here as well as they'll be also asking questions. And my question is directed towards Wards 3 and Wards 5. And my question is based on many youth in our city don't vote, and whether it's because they feel disconnected or from their local politics, or because they're unmotivated, or maybe even because they feel like the voice don't matter. So my question to you is, what would you do to engage these youth and improve the turnout rates for youth in our city elections?
You guys want to make that? Okay, let's do Kobe first.
So it's 60 seconds for this.
Yes.
That was not on. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Am I good to go?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, awesome. So thank you so much for your questions. This was one of the biggest things that was on my mind when I first decided to run. I think one of the coolest things about Hyattsville is that they do allow individuals that are 16 and up to get involved in local elections, and they also allow people that are not U.S. citizens to vote in elections. And at a time when there's just so much happening in our world, I think it's a really important thing that this kind of engagement is promoted in Hyattsville. So I took this step to join YAC last week before, alongside Michael, and we came and we brainstormed with them, and they came up with some really cool ideas. So I'm excited to see your tabling at the City of Hyattsville's birthday, and some of the other spaces that youth are going to be engaged in the future, because I think this is, not to sound cheesy, but you guys are the future of where this country is going, and if they don't take the time to vote now, it's got to start early.
You good? Good, yeah.
All right, cool. I like the direct approach. As I said, for the last almost 10 years, I've been working with Nicholas Orr Middle School, Fellow G Elementary School directly. I like that. I like the groups like you have, where you guys are getting directly involved, and I think we need to encourage more of that. Part of my platform, or my whole platform, is our safety, our homes, our future. And the future part of our platform is really working to engage the youth. The Hyattsville around this summer is looking to get a teen center finished up and built. I think while the kids are at the teen center, that's a great time to get civics clubs, to get civics lessons. There's a lot of space at the local library that I frequent. That there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of clubs, there's a lot of organizations. Let's get the youth involved more with that. Like you said, they don't vote because they feel their vote doesn't matter or that nobody cares. I love to show that, yes, we do care and we do need your vote. If you're ignoring the youth, then you're just ignoring the future. Thank you.
Okay, so for this one, we're going to do Daniel and then Kelson. And then
Thank you for your question. Well, first of all, we're in an election season right now, and so let's connect after this forum and figure out how the three of us can show up for you over the next few weeks and host a conversation in Hyde Park, right? Or, somewhere along the Shackle Town Center to chat about what's top of mind for you all. I really do think engaging with youth is about meeting them where they are, right? So maybe the Youth Advisory Council, right? Like engaging you all as council members, checking in with, not just checking in with the board, checking in with that committee to say, hey, like, there are these things happening in the city. What do you think? How does this impact you? What are some things that you're working on that maybe we're missing the boat on, right? We're not considering your perspective. And I also think that as council members, you should be taking the opportunity to meet you all where you are, again, your schools, teen center. And so I if elected to council, that's a commitment you have on my part as a local council member.
So first and foremost, I want to thank you for your service over at the Youth Advisory Council. I think that's pretty brave of you, and it's great to sacrifice your time in that manner for something that's better. There's also a 14-year-old girl in our neighborhood named Sabrina. I want to introduce you to her because she's also involved in politics like you are, and I think that would be a great connection to see you continue to rise up. So that's the way it is. You got to build connections. You build connections with the youth. As a council member, you first have to listen. You start listening first, and throughout your campaign, and while you're on the council, you still continue to listen. You continue to meet every single resident, every single neighbor, and you get involved with them. If that means a game of basketball, my knees can't take it, but we'll play it. But the goal is to get you involved and to get you caring about the community. Let's build a house together, let's pick up trash, let's do all types of things where we can make our community better. It starts with you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I want to echo Gopi and say thank you for having me at your recent meeting. It was a great time, and I thoroughly enjoyed meeting all of you. I think engaging with our youth is a top priority. I think that we should be meeting our youth where they are. So whether that's in your school, doing assemblies, tabling at your school, introducing voting to you, introducing that 16-year-olds can vote, and that your opinion, your vote, your voice truly does matter in this city is a key first step. Also, utilizing things like social media more to engage with students. That's where students are right now. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they're on X, they're on Blue Sky. City of Hyattsville has a Blue Sky account and has not used it, and I think that they're missing a critical opportunity to be engaging more with our young people on social media, and that's something that I would like to work on as a city council member. But I also love to hear from our youth, and I'd love to engage with you, hear your ideas on what would be the best things that we could be doing to help you get more engagement.
Thanks.
Oh, and TikTok. And it's still alive.
Okay, we have another question.
Test. All right, sounds good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Christopher Jimenez. I'm a Youth Advisory Council member who lives in Ward 2, and I'm here and currently enrolled in high school. I'm here to ask a question for Wards 1 and 2. As people are aware, youth around the city don't feel safe as much as they used to due to the amount of harassment/bullying they have to experience. My question is, how do we advocate for safe and exclusive areas for young people, like parks, rec centers, or after-school programs?
Okay, and for this one, let's do Eisenberg, Wilson.
Thanks. Thank you for that question. I think you start with the city's budget, to be honest, and you start with the youth who are active, because they're going to tell you what their experiences are. I can't tell you how to do this. There's a lot of stuff I don't know, and I'm going to be asking questions as a council member just as much as trying to use my experience to solve things. But ultimately, you use the budget and you create opportunities through the budget to create programming if that programming is something that's going to help solve the problems. That's it, plain and simple.
I have to say that I tend to agree with Stuart on this one, much to my chagrin. My perspective on how to deal with issues like this is to talk to the folks who are involved, to listen to experts about the ideas, and to come up with solutions as best we can all together. And so it's I'm surprised to hear, frankly, from my perspective, but I'm surprised that there is that concern in our community. And I'm chagrined about that's very unfortunate. And we'll just have to address it head on and see what we can do.
Well, thanks for the question. What I'll say is technology causes problems. We can actually use technology to help solve problems. I think what we can do is we can get guidance counselors involved, and we can also create an anonymous recording channel where students who are being bullied can actually share that without actually disclosing the identification. I think that's really important. The question that was asked a second ago to Ward 3 and 5, I just want to touch upon. We can borrow solutions. When you talk about getting youth engaged, we can borrow from cities that have adopted things that work. And one thing is the Mayor for the Day program, where middle school students, high school students compete to be the mayor for a day. I'm not trying to take away a job from Mayor Carlson, she's a great job. But it really does excite students, it motivates them to learn about city council. I think it would be a great solution for us to adopt.
All right.
You know, I come from a generation that was ignored by those before me because I was under 30, and they used to say, it's like, oh, we don't trust anybody over 30, they're going to trust nobody under 30. So I get you. And if you need to guess the generation, then you might be the one criticizing me. Listen, nobody knows the solutions but you. You know, to me, bullying is a matter of conversation, understanding, and giving the opportunities for people to have the conversations in a comfortable setting of your choosing. You know, it might not be the guidance conference, it might be your living room, it might be within your youth center, you know. After school programming such as, you know, sports, and sports includes gaming, everything that you want. So my solution, so I want to sit with you, I want to hear what your ideas are, and then you and I can figure out how to do it, regardless if I'm ever elected or not.
Okay. I think I would like to say a few words. I was called upon. Thank you. I mean, the topic and the questions are relevant to all of us, regardless of words. It goes beyond boundaries. That being said, I think I agree with most of the things that the candidate has said here. The council, we have tried to make sure that our youth are included, certainly lowering the voting age in the city. The Youth Advisory Council, the Teen Center, and I think our election commission does a great job trying to reach out to high school students coming to the school, engaging them. We do have meetings with school administrators. I think the principal John is coming up. We're talking about that recently. So those are initiatives that we have put in place. Are those enough? No. Is the world changing? Yes. So we definitely rely on you guys to let us know what's working, what's not working, so that we can talk to our partners, because the school system is not administered by the city. It's totally another institution, so we need to reach out to them, see how we can partner together and make the environment safer for everyone. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go on to a question that all of you can answer, and it's a two-part question, but you still only get 1 minute, so get ready. The two parts come from Anne-Marie Gorman in Ward 5 and from Rendell in Ward 1. And Anne-Marie asks, how strong is the city's financial position, and what, if anything, should be done to improve it? Rendell wanted to know what would be on your priority list for spending cuts. Do people want to hear that one more time? Yes. All right. How strong is the city's financial position, and what, if anything, should be done to improve it? What would be on your priority list for spending cuts, if anything? All right. Griffin's lobbying for you guys to have time to think. Okay. I think that we should, for this question, start at the end and come back this way.
So I get the least amount of time to think.
All right. How strong is the city's finances? I feel very confident in the city's finances. I do understand that we are in a deficit and there are some things that we can do better, but I feel very confident in our city's finances and our financial strength. We can absolutely be better, and we can find ways to generate more revenue. I do believe in that. So what would I cut? So cutting, sorry, he raised his hand up, I was out of time. But cutting is one solution. I think that we need to focus on multiple solutions, right? It's a multifaceted problem, it's a multi-layered problem. So instead of cutting, I would prioritize partnerships where can we partner with other cities, where can we partner with other types of government, to where we can leverage those resources and cut down on our specific usage of those resources. So that's pretty much the way that I would start to handle things. I would also seek grants. I would seek partnerships with institutions as well as industry to bring money into Hyattsville. So that's another solution. It's not just about cutting. We need to find a way to generate revenue for Hyattsville.
So I believe that the city is in okay financial position. So yes, expenditures exceed revenue, but we have a lot of savings, right? And so I think that the city is acting responsibly in terms of how the budget that was just discussed this week. I believe that the administrator is taking steps to look to see how long-term, right, we can reduce spending in the city. And I believe that spending needs to be done thoughtfully. If you just cut programs and services without really thinking about the consequences for residents, I think that's bad. At least everybody's in that position. And so I look forward to seeing the budget next year, the proposal next year, to see where the administrator and city staff look to see where there would be reductions, right? So I think that's important. In terms of spending cuts, right, I feel that we need to look at the largest expense items and make sure that we are taking a hard look and really understanding whether we need those services, whether we want those services as a community.
Time.
Thank you.
I also believe that our city's finances are strong, but I do believe that we can be doing better. Specifically, I think the city be doing better in terms of transparency with the budgeting process. I recently sat here in this room during a public budget meeting where I got to sit at various tables with the various different groups that form the city to learn about what their budgets are and what they are looking at cutting. Some things may be very sad to see, and some things I had to do more research about. However, I do think that we need more transparency. We need to know where the money is coming from, especially for the capital investment projects. And I think that we should be, let's see. And also, I think that I agree with Councilmember Dennis, who said at the end of the last city council meeting that for the budgeting process next year, we need to find a way to streamline the process. The process takes far too long, people tune out, and I don't think people truly understand sometimes what goes into the budget, what is going into the budget, what's being cut, all of that. So if I'm with the council, I would find a way to streamline the budgeting process, make it easy to understand for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Where should I start? The city financial position, I think I agree with the other candidates here. We're in good position. What would I like to see is being cut up on audits. Because right now, yes, we do have a lot in saving based on audited before that we had. But would that still be the case once we cut up on audits? I don't know. So that's kind of like what worries me, not knowing exactly if the saving will materialize once we are cut up in audits. So that's something I want to see. But that being said, I think we are in a good financial position. Another thing that I wanted to see, we have tried this in the past, which is passing balanced budget. Right now there is a loophole in our procedure, which is taking into account revenue plus fund balance. My goal is to make sure that passing a balanced budget means revenues equal expenditure. Now, if we're going to dive into the fund balance, then that can be an extra conversation between council members and leaders. Thank you.
I agree with other candidates that we have a strong financial standing with our city council budget. There's actually no cuts that I would make because I think the city of Hyattsville has done a really good job over the last several years to be innovative in the programming that they offer their residents. And we have great mental health programming. We have a police infrastructure that's completely changing. We have this teen center coming up. There are a lot of programs that Hyattsville offers, and now residents come to expect that. And so once you start to innovate, you can't take that away because that's the fun part about living in Hyattsville. I do agree with Edward that I think one of the biggest impacts to our city budget that we have the potential for change in is the debt. Once we are caught up with the audits, which has been a long-standing issue that I think the city council has worked really hard and city staff has worked hard to get a hold of. We have the chance to refinance our debt and get into a better financial position.
Like everyone else who's here, I think that the City of Hyattsville budget is fine, and I can say that with all confidence because I was literally reading through this earlier today. A lot of my people come up to me wondering, with all the mess going on in Washington, how is federal funding going to affect Hyattsville? Looking through the budget, it looks like we really don't receive a lot of federal funds other than ARPA. And for those who aren't aware, ARPA is the American Rescue Plan Act, aka the COVID-19 stimulus plan. So we're doing fine in terms of being insulated from what's going on federally, it seems. I'm with Councilman Edward about doing an audit about what's going on because we do have a lot of savings, which is great. I think with savings, we don't have to rely on cutting a lot of things or really cutting anything. Like my councilman down there, I'm of the mind that we need to do partnerships. If you look through the budget there, when it comes to policing, we are looking to do partnerships with nearby cities or even the county so that we can share resources and not have to spend a lot of our own money for the same services. Thank you.
60 seconds is not enough. No, I just want to put it out there.
We can go 4 hours.
As shown by our last meeting, really, it's about transparency, it's about a streamlined process, it's about catching up on our audits. And when I say audits, I mean not just an audit of what's going on right now as if there was anything wrong at the moment, because I believe we are in a strong financial position. But we need to take a look at where investments in the past are and what are the things that we're paying for now. Because past decisions have consequences, and our decisions will have consequences for those after us. And so, would I cut anything? You know what? I'm not sure yet. Because I sit here as a candidate. And as somebody who has read the budget and has read the proposals, and yet I know that we all love the fact that Hyattsville is a big playground for both adults and children. We have incredible programs that support people. And so do we want to cut the fun parts? Not sure. But I'm sure that most of you think that those are the places where we need to cut. So we need to have a conversation about it beyond the halls of the city hall.
Once again, nowhere near enough time. One of the things that we did the last time there was lots of federal money available, when I was on council for 16 years, 20 years ago.
Scott, the mic's not picking you up that well. We pulled back, yeah.
Any better? Okay, I was on the council for 16 years, 20 years ago. We received a massive amount of federal funding, not anything like ARPA, but we were very careful to only use it for capital expenditures, not to use it for personnel where you would build an obligation toward the future that you couldn't possibly fund. The city ran for those 16 years with about 80 full-time equivalent employees. We're now more than double that, as I understand it. I thought we were just under twice as much, but too many people. Oh my gosh. So there are a lot of unfunded obligations with reference to ARPA funds and programs that were started that didn't get finished, can't be finished with the money we have.
Thank you. First part of the question was how strong is the city's financial position? And I would say, I don't have enough information just yet. I don't think we have accounted for all of the capital costs we are incurring now that we have created a lot more capital facilities in the city and have expanded the city. And we don't articulate what those expenses are, either the life cycle or the full maintenance costs. And so as a result, even though we have expanded services, even when we adjust for inflation and per capita growth, we're looking at one time we spent $1,000 per citizen, or I apologize, per resident in Hyattsville. And now we're spending about $1,500. So we've expanded services per capita on an adjusted basis. Nothing wrong with that if we can afford it. But I'm not sure that we can yet because I don't think we're fully understanding what all the costs are to keep everything going. So I would like to look at that first.
Okay, it's a two-part question, so I'll try to be fast and quick. First, I'm confident in the city finances as well. I think our reserves are pretty healthy. I do understand the concerns about the decline in federal funding and the potential, based upon what's being caused at the federal level, for employee disruption, and I know Hyattsville has a lot of federal employees. So with that said, I don't think I would actually pursue cuts just yet, but I would think about trying to increase revenues and engage in some cost-saving measures. In terms of increasing revenues, one thing in the budget that I think works well is our use of speed cameras and red light cameras. That actually does generate some revenue, and it actually accomplishes or encourages, promotes pedestrian and traffic safety issues, which is important to me. Another revenue generation, I would love to see local tourism promoted. I'd love to see more people from the DMV come to Hyattsville and make it a destination. In terms of cost saving, I think we should use technology better so we can make workers more productive.
Thanks, everybody. I'm going to go next to a question from a Ward 5 resident about who did not want their name used at in the forum. The person says, we recently learned that a local man was approached and questioned by the Hyattsville and Prince George's County Police at the Hyattsville Home Depot, leading to his involvement with ICE and subsequent deportation to a prison in El Salvador. How will you work with both residents and the Hyattsville and Prince George's County Police Departments to ensure that our city's sanctuary ordinance is upheld and that Hyattsville is a safe environment for those belonging to marginalized communities? This is the general topic of sanctuary. All right, so I'm repeating the question. How will you work with residents and police departments to ensure that our city's sanctuary ordinance is upheld and that Hyattsville is a safe environment for those belonging to marginalized communities? Okay, we've got 1 minute, and for this one, we're gonna go Ward 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 in that order. So we're gonna start with Elizabeth.
Again, this is a question that requires a little bit more time. What I will say is this. As your candidate, as a person from marginalized communities, as a person who has suffered as well as confronted prejudice many times in her life, I will tell you this. Conversations, dialogue are important. If we are going to be a sanctuary city for all, not just immigrants, but for trans people, for women, for anybody who does not fit what is supposedly called the norm, we must stand strong and we must educate one another. It is important that our police department understands that regardless of what the national narrative is, in the city of Hyattsville, where I live and where we operate, we are here to protect one another, even if it is from one another. So we need to be taught how to disrupt. We need to practice how to defend one another. And we need to understand how to raise our voices to be able to all be heard in Espanol, in English, in Mandarin, in whatever language it is, in whatever form it is. So the answer is education, dialogue, and action.
Okay. Ward 3, I think it is Gopi's turn to go first. Is that right?
I'll take it. So this narrative has been on the national news for quite some time now. I think there's a lot of speculation in the city of Hyattsville about who called the police in 2019, and I think that is an important consideration. But I think the reason that it's being questioned so much is because people are scared. This is a fear-based reaction, and I think that is completely normal. The city, I think, has done a great job starting from the city council meeting on Monday about reaffirming their commitment to being a sanctuary city. I think this commitment is going to have to come multiple times because when people are responding out of fear, they need that affirmation multiple times. I'm here to say that I am happy to provide that over the next several years. I want our residents in Hyattsville to not be afraid that their citizenship will be questioned whenever they interact with city officials. I think that open communication and transparency is important across all areas of city government, and I plan to work alongside the police officers and the city council and the city staff to make sure that we can provide that for our residents. Thank you.
That issue hit home for me because I live in the Editor's Park, which is right across the street from that Home Depot. I shop at that Home Depot, and I think Senator Van Hollen did a pretty brave thing by standing up and going out to do there. I think that, respectfully to everybody who came before me, it's great to reaffirm our commitment from our city leaders, but our residents want to see us actually do something. Words go well, but people want to see some sort of action. So with your vote by May 13th, there's a few things that I really want to get into. I like how Aisha Brayboy said that she wants to get back into what's called community policing, which it's an old idea, it's been around forever, but it's where the police know the community they're policing, and the community knows the police they're policing, being policed by. I know with something along these lines, it makes for safer interactions between the police and the community. I know when I was younger, I would sometimes stay out a bit too late, but because we had community policing, instead of having a violent or some kind of altercation with the police, they just brought me home. We need to get more ideas like that. Thank you.
We'll just go down the line from there.
All right, thank you. Very important questions. I started earlier by saying that I decided to run because there was an election back in November that had consequences. This is one of the reasons why I decided to stand council. When there is a huge change and shift in narrative, in policies, like what we are currently experiencing, you need constant. You need somebody that people can trust and rely upon to advocate, to stand up for them. Somebody they can feel comfortable and at ease approaching about issues. And that's one of the reasons why I'm running again, so that I can be there, I can be that voice for the entire community. I asked the question on Monday to make sure that we still abiding by our central city policies. And I can say that HPD did nothing wrong. We do have degrees that we go based on, but once you get used to this, you get to learn what your limits are, what you can do, what you cannot do. But I'm happy to discuss further that issue.
Thank you for the question. First, let me just point out that the man in question should never have been reported in the first place. He had a court ruling in his favor, yet he did everything right, and it still wasn't enough. We need to be doing more, and there's actually, I just think about a musical that I love called Tick, Tick, Boom, where there's a line in a song that says, actions speak louder than words. The time for talking is past in my view, the time to act. We need to be standing with all of our marginalized communities, the immigrant community, as Liz said, our transgender community, women, all of our marginalized communities need our support now more than ever. And I will be that city council member to stand with you, to stand by your side. Growing up as an LGBTQ person and someone living with a disability, I know what goes on with discrimination, especially when we see it from our government. And I will be that person, and I have a lot of ideas. I would love to speak with you about that, but I believe the time is now for action and to stand with you.
So let's be clear about something, right? The HPD field interview document does not say that Mr. Abreu Garcia did anything wrong. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. Marijuana was never found on him, again, according to the field interview report published by HPD. But HPD coordinated with the PG, County Police Department, and that is what led to this whole mess that Mr. Abreu Garcia is now in. And so the city really needs, the HPD really needs to think about when we're coordinating with county police to ensure that individuals that we're referring to their custody have actually done something wrong. So let's be clear about that. I think that dialogue, relationship building, and accountability are the way forward to engage residents and the police department here to ensure that we're building relationships that work for our communities. As your council member, if I become your council member, I want to be that person. If there's an issue with how the police enforce a certain law and there's questions about whether laws were followed, come to me and I will be that voice on council who gets to the bottom of what's going on.
As a city councilman, it is my responsibility to protect my constituents, point blank, period. That's the rule. I don't believe that immigration status should be a barrier to asking for help or receiving help. I stand firmly on that. In regards to the police, my guidance to the police is to focus on the laws, not the immigration and customs enforcement. That's not their role, that's not their responsibility. Focus on local laws. So that's what I would focus on. In regards to guidance, San Francisco recently published some information to their residents and to their store owners. And what they provided them was, this is what you do, and this is what you don't do when you're approached by an immigration and customs enforcement individual. Here's what you're allowed to do, here's what you're not allowed to do, here's what they're allowed to do, and here's what they're not allowed to do. And by arming every single resident with that information, you create a strong community. So when I say a safer, stronger, Hyattsville for all, I mean it.
Back to.
Three quick solutions to make sure our citizens are protected going forward. First, we do need to launch a public awareness campaign. A lot of citizens don't understand their rights. We should explain those rights to them. Second, we should think about creating a volunteer hotline so that when problems exist, you can reach out, talk to attorneys, and have a better understanding of the do's and don'ts. I'm a licensed attorney. I'd be more than happy to volunteer my time and energy. Third thing, we do need to make sure that officers are properly trained so that they understand where the responsibilities of a Hyattsville local police officer start and stop, and where an ICE agent's responsibilities start and stop. I think if we do those three things, we can actually protect against future abuses.
Thank you. In addition to the strong statements of my fellow candidates here, I think that the city staff does a great job with making residents feel welcome and taking care of these types of concerns and making sure that through communication, all residents feel welcome. And that's critical that everybody here do the same thing as residents of Hyattsville. Pursuant to that, we have Narcan intervention training. Why not have some training for residents to deal with ICE? Why not an ICE watch? We have this great Hope listserv that is sometimes a blessing and sometimes a curse. Curses, I say. Well, that could also, besides finding the lost dog, help alert people when ICE is active in the community. So I think those are two things, but the bigger problem is the erosion of due process, and we all have an obligation to address that.
Well, I think the education, letting everybody know exactly what you can and cannot, and they can and cannot do is first and foremost. And that goes for the citizens, that goes for the police, that goes for everybody. And it is so important that people stand up and be accountable. This is a time in our nation that's just unbelievable.
Thank you. We're going to go to a question about affordable housing. That again has two parts, so your pencils out. One part is really just kind of a yes or no. So the overall question is, how do you think city council members can best advocate for affordable housing? And we did have a Ward 2 resident who wanted to know specifically if you intend to support the rent stabilization ordinance that was drafted by the city attorney. Candidates are allowed to pass. If you're not prepared to answer that, something that's specific, you can pass on that and talk about how do you think city council members can best advocate for affordable housing.
Please say it one more time.
So the general question is, how do you think city council members can best advocate for affordable housing? But please know you have constituents who want to know in particular if you intend to support the rent stabilization ordinance drafted by the city attorney. For this one, we're going to start with Ward 3. We'll do 3, 4, 5, and then 1 and 2. So I think Jay
Let's go first, right?
This is the question I've been waiting for all night. No, I absolutely support affordable housing and stabilization. So I've been talking all night about 3 parts of my platform: our safety, our homes, and our future. And when it comes to our homes, especially with our renters, people are struggling. I've heard a lot of talk, hey, we need to give the county version, because the county has a version, give our county version a chance to succeed or fail. I was on board with that until I learned that we spent the money researching, drafting, and having the city lawyer pretty much get Hyattsville version of rent stabilization drafted. The only reason why our friends and our neighbors who are struggling don't have the help they need is because no one's brought that version of it to a vote yet. Within the first 90 days of me being on the city council, I'm going to move to bring that to a vote. If it passes, it passes, and I believe it will, but people need help now, and there's no reason that there's a mostly drafted up version that's not even voted on. It's past time. Thank you.
I think one of the best ways to advocate for affordable housing is to bring awareness to the current laws in place. So Prince George's County did pass an affordable housing law in October of 2024, and they took a great deal of time and effort to get to that point, and I don't know if all the residents of Hyattsville are aware that that's in place. I think that you can have laws in place, and if residents don't know that they have that leg to stand on, and they have that to advocate for themselves, they don't know how to use it. As for the rent stabilization ordinance by the city, I honestly haven't read the latest version of it, and I know that Prince George's County has something in place, so I would want to review that before I answer the second part of that question.
Okay. Affordable housing, ways to advocate for that. We all know that the land for development is scarce, is limited within the city. If we want to be really ahead of the curve, we also need to think outside the box. We need to make some concession in areas where otherwise we wouldn't be comfortable enabling such development. We were recently talking on Monday about the pilot program for the 10 Roads project over at First United Methodist Church. That is a tool that the city has to promote affordable housing development. Instead of taxing people, we're giving the taxes so that people can afford it. We're talking about trash collection in HOAs. We know that if the city goes there, that HOA dues are going to be lower. That will create affordability for certain people. The draft rent stabilization, I can say that most of the city council members are in favor of it. The only thing we say is to give the county pass rent stabilization a chance to see how it's going to play out, because they mirror each other in most part. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I also have not thoroughly fully read through the current plan, so I don't want to speak directly on that. However, I will say in general, I am supportive of rent stabilization measures. There are lots of apartment complexes in Ward 5 and in Hyattsville in general, and I want to make sure that we are doing rent stabilization in a way that is smart, that is not pricing out current residents, not raising property taxes on long-term residents. And I think we can do that on the city council, but in terms of the current measure that's being discussed, I want to read that more thoroughly, but I'm happy to get back to anyone who likes to learn more once I'm able to give you a more thorough answer.
So, yes, generally we support the rent stabilization ordinance that you drafted. I think I have questions about some provisions, so definitely would have some questions for the authors of that. I think it in terms of how council members can advocate for affordable housing, I think it starts with understanding the role of the county and the city, right? The county has a lot of authority in terms of what developments get approved in the city of Hyattsville, and they have the final say, right? And I've been digging to find the process. What is the process that the city undertakes with the county to get those developments approved? And it's the hardest thing to find. And so I think if elected council member, right, I would spend a lot of my time figuring that out and making it accessible to residents so that we all know how the development process works in our county, in our city, because it's not clear to anybody that I've engaged with. And so that needs to change. Let's talk about the Rosewood development. I think before we can approve affordable housing projects and developments, we need a holistic picture of what investments do we have in the city? Can we afford those tax cuts? So should they be for 40 years or should they be for shorter, 25 years? Can we afford a 40-year tax break for these developments? I'm supportive of the project, but just we need to ask these hard questions. Thank you.
Great question. So regarding the rent stabilization order, right now it's in draft form. So if elected, I look forward to maturing that document and then passing it forward once it's mature. As far as specific actions that I would take, I would like to partner with nonprofit agencies who are willing to build homes for affordable housing. I look forward to providing also tax credits to both builders as well as developers who are willing to support affordable housing, as well as providing information on benefits to every single resident so they are aware of what's available for their means of affordable housing. So that's pretty much short and sweet of it.
So actually, let's do Eisenberg, Wilson Barnes.
Thanks. Tenant awareness is critical, advocating and making sure resources for our tenants so that they know their rights is critical in the process. I've taken maybe 1,000 calls over the last 4 years from folks who are having trouble making their rent and directing them to resources. So it's a live action problem here. But I also feel like we have to take away barriers to creating housing that is affordable. And we haven't been doing that in this city. I have distrust in price control mechanisms because they have unintended consequences. As soon as the county started talking about rent stabilization, a lot of tenants were displaced from their apartments as a result. Leases were not offered, again, to the lowest rent paying, longest term residents in the city through legal processes. There are too many unintended consequences, and this takes more than a 1-minute answer. It takes a lot of work. Thank you.
The unintended consequences of actions of government are one of the areas where experience comes in handy. We've looked at this stuff before, and you've got so many things to consider. It takes a lot of time. Bottom line, though, is with the education as to what is available and what is optional, people can make better decisions. Personally, I happen to be a landlord. I made a promise to everybody I ever rented to that I would not increase their rents past inflation. I would not follow the market. And I have a person who has gone up $100 in 27 years.
The planning committee has looked at this issue in a couple of different ways recently. First, I heard Penrose mentioned. Penrose is something that's in the works right now up on First United Methodist Church property. I think it's going to be a tremendous boom for seniors who are looking for affordable housing. Pivoting to the conversation about rent stabilization, we've also talked about that on the planning committee. I do think since Prince George's County has actually moved forward last fall on adopting their plan, we probably should wait and see before the city council adopts its own plan, just to make sure that there are no unwanted or unintended consequences. The third thing I'll say is I'm a big fan of light touch density. I live in a townhome right now. Townhomes actually are beneficial for city revenues. I think we should, when appropriate, look at building more townhomes throughout the city of Hyattsville.
1996, I left the city of Boston, my rent was $650. The city decided to do away rent control. I came back a year later, the same apartment was $2,000. The question about rent control is who does it affect and who does it benefit? It benefits those who are willing to sacrifice and to better their communities. It mostly affects those who might not see their revenue rise as quickly as they want. I am in full support of rent stabilization. Rent without control is a recipe for exclusion of those who need housing the most. How do we make it work? Personally, I think that the city owes it to its citizens to take control of this issue and to stop giving the county too much control over what it is that we can control.
All right, I'd really like to do one more question before closing. And to do it, I think I can only give you each 30 seconds. You ready for that, Griffin?
Yes, no, we're done.
All right, so this is a question from Sally Middlebrooks in Ward 1. We're going to give short shrift here to our seniors. Residents of the wards you represent are diverse in many ways, including age. Consider residents over 65. How are you planning to know their needs and to meet them? Okay, here you go again. Residents of the wards you represent are diverse in many ways, including age. Consider residents over 65. How are you planning to know their needs and then meet them? This is from Sally Middlebrooks in Ward 1. And I think because it's from Sally and because I'd like to go quickly, we're just going to go right down the line for this one.
Yeah, honestly, I think right now Hyattsville has a lot of good age-friendly programs in place for seniors. I'd love to see that expanded. To be quite honest, I think the only way you can meet them is having those conversations to figure out what's important to them.
Agreed. Knowing who's in your ward and talking to them, finding out what they need is the key. I'm going to leave it at that. That's definitely the way to go. You gotta know what they want. You gotta do what you can do.
You say you don't know what they want?
You've got to know what they want. You gotta talk to them. Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of neighbors over the age of 65, and I know them, and so I'm already talking to them. And I can tell you that they would like to spend more social time in groups with us. That is not just excursions outside of the city or to the casino. But many of them do not for the casino. So, our engine in place needs to be stronger, and we need to make sure that we create a certain spaces.
I've been meeting extensively with this group of people, so as a councilman, I'll continue to meet with them. But from what I've heard, mostly from them is, I want a fixed income. That sounds familiar. So whether you call it aging in place or whether you call it staying in your home, they want two things. They don't want to see their property taxes rise so fast that they have to move somewhere else with lower property taxes. And they don't want to see the prices in the city they live in also rise so high that they can't afford anything but their mortgages or property taxes in Hyattsville. Thank you.
This question honestly makes me laugh because if you've met anybody over this age of 65, they will tell you what they want. If they answer their door and you're on the other side of it, they will tell you everything that they've experienced in life. They will tell you what they have experienced in terms of economy, government, their family, their friends, their hobbies, what kind of car they used to drive when they first got their driver's license. Like, there is no end. You're on the other side of that door and you listen and you do what they need because they will tell you.
Thank you, Sally, for the question. For those who don't know, we do have a very good NGO in place here in the city called Hyattsville Aging in Place. They do a lot for the seniors. You can volunteer with them if you don't. I do volunteer with them. I shovel snow every winter, and I run some errands when possible. So able to call you and for you to pick up that phone. So the Google number doesn't cut it. Provide your actual number where they can easily reach you. Thank you.
So Ward 5 has two different communities within it. One is an independent living center, and the other is a senior facility that I've been in conversations with. How do you engage with people? As I said in my intro, you listen and you show up. And I think that I'm the right person to do that. You engage with your communities by knocking on their door and you're hearing what they have to say. So you knock on their door, you listen to them, and like Gopi said, if you ask them what they're thinking about, they're going to tell you. Because ultimately, what you're doing is you're voting for one of us to be your advocate, right? You're voting for us to be your advocate. And we will take those ideas back to the council and hopefully make improvements. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the first question, right, which is kind of meeting people where they're at. And so I think it's important to meet all of the residents where they're at. And actually, we do a lot of Ward 5 residents over 65 reached out, scheduled conversations, just like in the living room. So let's keep doing it. Let's keep having those conversations. I think the biggest challenges that they face is, yes, aging in place. And then I think upkeep of their house, right, as it gets more expensive to upkeep the house. Like, how do they, or even if they have limitations on their ability to upkeep the house, or how do they do that? And so I think those are two of the issues that I've heard, and obviously there's more, so let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah, absolutely, I believe in just listening first, going out knocking on doors, not just during election time, but also when you're a council member. Go up there and meet people in their spaces. Have town halls, meet the neighborhoods, walk around, want to walk with seniors. I know the city has multiple senior events. Support them, go out there so you can understand what's on everyone's mind. And if necessary, I'm happy to establish a senior advisory council. As a heart-to-heart, look, we'll all be over 65, so let's start building that community now and building a city that supports that community.
Are we through? Okay, sorry. Turn here, I'll say this. All right, has anybody turned in, cards with questions on them? We might be able to squeeze in one more 30-second one if we don't have those. Okay, then we're gonna just go to closers. And I think, we will start with Edward, because he's the only one who hasn't gotten to start yet. We'll go 4, 5, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. What do they have for time?
They have a minute. Yeah.
I would like to thank the Hyattsville Latin Time, residents.
Oh, wait, actually, 1 second. There is actually, I'm so sorry. There is actually a question that is to start the closer. And Lindsay is going to ask it. So it's not just totally open-ended as you may have seen in the, yeah, so get ready. All right. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lindsay Velasquez, and I'm not only just an active member of the City of Hyattsville, but I'm also part of the Youth Advisory Council as the co-secretary. And this leads me to the closing question, which is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I get a little nervous, but what is one goal you wish to achieve during your term in office? Thank you.
Oh my goodness. Repeat it for that.
So that's before.
In this coming term, yeah.
What is one goal you wish to achieve during your term in office?
This is part of your closing. This is what you're closing. This is your last chance. All right. So,
it's a 1 minute, guys, for closing statements plus the incorporation of that question, one thing, one concrete thing you want to accomplish.
so, and we are going to give it to Edward to start. He's running on a pose, so it gives everybody else a little more time.
Make sure they make your work easy. But thank you. I think I mentioned here tangentially that the one goal that I would like to achieve, if there is just one that I think is being put up with the audits, which will provide us with a clean,
So we've talked several times tonight about audits, and I want to kind of reframe the conversation a little bit. One thing I would like to do if elected is I would like to have an accessibility audit of the city of Hyattsville. I would like to make sure that every part of Hyattsville is accessible for everyone in the city. Our recent resident satisfaction survey showed that 48% of people think that our parks are accessible to people with disabilities, and about 62% of people think Hyattsville is accessible in general. I'm here to tell you that is not high enough. I want to thank the Hyattsville Life and Times for this event tonight. Again, I'm running on a platform of public education, public safety, making sure residents are more engaged in our election process, and more. Recently I've been endorsed by Pamela Boozer-Strother, our school board member, who I've worked with closely while on the Hyattsville Education Advisory Committee. And just today I received the support of the LGBTQ Plus Victory Fund, which helps LGBTQ people get elected to office because of my platform. Thank you so much for the time tonight. I hope to earn your vote either when you vote by mail, or we vote on May 3rd at St. Matthews, or on May 13th at the City Building. Thank you so much.
If we think of some of the topics that have come up tonight, right? Affordable housing, a vibrant neighborhood with vibrant businesses, a lot of it really goes back to development, right? And how we grow our city and that whole process, right, between the county and the city. And again, I think we need more clarity on that as residents, so that we understand where our city is going, what's coming to Hyattsville. And it shouldn't just be lawyers, developers that are working on those projects that understand the process and that work the process. It should be all of us. And so I commit, if elected to city council, to really bring that clarity to all the residents, right? In working with Mr. Luis, who is the Director of Community Business and Economic Development, as well as the county, to get clarity of the facts. How do we do development in our county, in our city? And just to go back to me as a candidate, right? I do believe that I can give voice to all of Ward 5. I think I've shown that I have ideas, I have critical thinking. I will ask the hard questions, say the hard things when it needs to be said. I'm an honest individual that really wants to be a voice for Ward 5. So I look forward to engaging with you all in the next couple of weeks. We still have some time to connect, so look forward to that.
Thank you for the question, Litzy. So the biggest thing that I would like to do is I want more people involved in the city. I'm a big fan of councils, and I'm a big fan of committees as well as advisory boards. I spoke about a senior advisory committee, but I'm also trying to create an economic development board, an economic development committee. I would also look to create an accessibility advisory board so that we can ensure that accessibility is involved in everything we do. So on May 13th, we all have a decision to make. You have a decision to make. You can vote for a candidate that you align with, but you can also vote for a candidate that you believe in, a candidate that you believe can reach across the table at the city, at the county, at the state, and at the federal level to get things done for Hyattsville. I need your help. I need your support. I need your commitment, and I need your vote. And together we can build a safer, stronger Hyattsville for all. Thank you.
No, sorry, Scott, it's you.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been talking about whether or not we should limit our property tax increases to the rate of inflation for many years. I think it's time to bring that to a record. It's something that I've talked to a lot of the folks about in our sales. Another thing that has happened in Rainier, which is another option for property tax relief, is that they allow people with 35 years of home ownership in the city to pay 20% less on their taxes. It's another option. I think that, I mentioned it, but I'm paying more than half again in taxes, what my mortgage payment was when I bought my house. And I had a 9.5% mortgage for 13 years. So it wasn't a lot.
Thanks for the question, Lizzie. My top priority if elected would be to address some of the vacant buildings along Route 1, the blight by encouraging small businesses to relocate to Hyattsville. In closing, what I will say is I'll start where I think I began. One, by thanking Hyattsville Life and Times for organizing the forum, thanking you guys for being here. We do have an election coming up. We have early voting on May 3rd from 9 to 1 a.m. at St. Matthew's Church. On election day, May 13th, you can vote in person. But what I'm recommending to everyone is vote by mail. Hopefully you receive a ballot in the mail. Please return it. I just think it's so important. I talked about civic engagement earlier. We all have a responsibility to participate in this process and make the best process we can. Thank you again, and good night.
I'll echo the thank you to both the Hyattsville Times, like for your support. If I were to be elected, I would not compromise my principles. I will not compromise my values. It is the reason why I'm running. That means affordable housing. That means transparency. That means not to be co-opted or disregarded simply because others disagree with my opinion. That means continue to engage in community, continue to engage in conversation, continue to be active, continue to be loud, proud, accessible, transparent, accountable, and visible. Not just when your vote is needed, but any other time of the month, of the day, of the year. And with doing that, I know that then I bring a voice to you. And as a proud recipient of both, LGBTQ organizations, as well as pro-Palestinians and pro-progressive Jews and others, in particularly of my beloved Latina community and my queer communities, I am here to represent all of you all the time with a lot of heart and a lot of voice.
I'm a mental health counselor. I'm literally trained to listen and advocate for individuals. And one of the main reasons I decided to run was because I wanted to scale this up to a community level. My main goal for the residents of Ward 3 is safety and communication, and to communicate about our safety. I think that there are going to be a lot of changes. I know that there's going to be a lot of changes in Ward 3 in the next 4 years. It is the fastest growing ward in our city. We have a whole new community coming up on Bellcrest. We have a well-established community in the form of University Hills, as well as Editors Park. I'm a proud resident of Gateway West, and while we are only 2 years new to Hyattsville, we have a strong and mighty presence. I want to make sure that whatever is happening in the city is known by all of the individuals in the city, so that they can have a transparent way to communicate with the city councilors and one another. Thank you.
Gracias por tu pregunta, señorita Vasquez. Thank you very much, Ms. Vasquez, for your I've been preparing for this question all night, it seems, because I haven't just given one thing I wanted to do. I've mentioned several. And it all comes back to my platform of our safety, our homes, and our future. When I talk about our safety, I believe that everyone here in Hyattsville should feel as safe outside of their home as they do inside their home. We should be able to give that to our residents. When I talk about our homes, I mean for these young people, I don't want them to grow up and be priced out of living in the city they grew up in or graduated from. They should be able to get jobs, they should be able to pay rent, they should be able to own a home in the city that they come from. Rent stabilization is probably one of the most specific things I said. It's already been drafted, it's already been researched, all of that work has been done and paid for. Let's bring it to a vote. Talking about our future, aging in place, living in your home, whatever it is. If you already live here, it should be easy to stay here. So thank you to Hyattsville Life and Time for putting us all together. Vote for me on May 13th or by mail-in ballot, absolutely. And thank you to all of you for giving up time during your day to participate in local politics.
Thanks so much, Debbie.
This one.
Okay. Good evening. Lizzie, thank you for your question. My one goal in this process is to ensure that I hear from and respond to every Ward 1 constituent through the process if I'm elected. The only endorsement I'm seeking is that of the voters. I too love Hyattsville, like everybody else up here. 33 years worth of love, and that's a whole lot of love. I'm really impressed by this group of candidates, and I feel like the city's future is in good hands with whomever you vote with here. So I think that's a great moment for our city to be in. I want to thank the residents, I want to thank the Life and Times, the city staff, other council members, and appreciate the opportunity. Take care.
I gotta also read Emily's closer. I had that here. I'll do it.
Okay, as your council member, I have been committed to the causes that are important to our Ward 2 neighbors. I know this from talking to them. I've been to your door, you have my number and my email. I've contacted over 1,000 voting households in Ward 2 over the last 2 months. Voter engagement happens on the ground, people need to be heard. I'm committed to affordable housing in Hyattsville. It takes a nuanced, multifaceted approach to make that attainable across the economic spectrum. Rent stabilization is one tool in the toolkit for affordable housing, which includes public-private partnerships for new construction, tax credits for homeowners, and other programs. Currently, we have county legislation that I'm committed to make work for Hyattsville by working with our county leaders as the most budget-efficient way to attain that goal, as well as finding opportunities for sub-market housing projects that we want to see in Hyattsville. This is part of a larger financial, budgetary, and economic strategy that council, staff, and community leaders must collaborate on to deliver. I've been an advocate for school zones, clear crosswalks, and traffic calming on our streets. That will not change in my next term. Without question, our sanctuary city status in Hyattsville should remain, and its efficacy evaluated for enforcement.
All right, now we
I'm going to give the mic to Nate for just a second to talk about voting logistics, because he has all the latest details on that, all the ways that you all can do it. Chairman.
Well, I think it was mentioned by many of the candidates, but please come out and vote. You should take your mail-in ballots. We have drop boxes at 3 locations throughout the city. One right out front here at the city building, one here at Park, and one at the library. So please use those drop boxes for your ballots, or you can vote in person. We have 2 times we can do that. Our early voting is May 3rd at St. Matthew's Church from 9 to 1 o'clock, as was already said. And then here at the city building on May 13th, and we will be here all day from 7 to 8 p.m. So please come out and vote. We want to have this be the highest voter turnout that we've ever had. And I think we'll do it.
All right.